So I want to talk about my real SNHU workload each week because this has been a question that people have been asking me all the time. And honestly, it's something that I wish more people would actually talk about, but um because I'm going to tell you something directly. Online school is flexible, and that's why people go to online schools, but it is not light. And I think that this shines a light on that. And I just wanted to have just a sit down conversation. So get your water or your adult beverage whenever you're listening to me, and let me break down for you a real experience. Let me tell you what's not theory. We're not going to talk about marketing for SNHU, just what it actually feels like to be a student online for the last 4 years. So, first, I think that we should talk about time per class. And that is in the marketing material. So let's be clear about that at SNHU. They will talk about the time per class and what you should spend or what they recommend. So each class has like a weekly rhythm. So think about it as you've heard, if you've been following my journey at any point, you know that I have been talking about how important it is for you to get your post in on a Wednesday. And because they're due every Thursday, if you have a discussion post, and then your homework is due on a Sunday by 12 o'clock. Now, since it has a rhythm, you have got to get these discussion posts and replies done. Okay. So I usually do those on a Wednesday, and I have stuck with that because initially I was working at a warehouse when I first started school, and it was the easiest time for me to come into work early and get my discussion posts done while I was waiting to start. So I used to do it in the break room when I had time. So that's how the Wednesday portion came about. Since they're due on Thursday, I never missed my discussion posts because I always got them done early. So I suggest that you do the same thing and embrace a Wednesday discussion post. Just embrace that, like burn that into your head. Discussion posts are due on Wednesday. If at all possible, very latest day is Wednesday. If you can get them done on a Monday, great. But at least Wednesday is the drop dead date. You must get the done by. Let's also talk about how you're going to meet your milestones on the weekend. Because if you wait to Sunday to try to get your work done, what you're going to run into is Sundays at like 6 o'clock at night, you're still doing work. And some work, by the way, takes a lot of time. So if that's you, just don't do that. Just don't do that. Try to do something else with your time to balance it. Papers. I was trying to think of what I wanted to talk to you guys about outside of papers, but papers are a large part of going to school online. And they're usually noted as like assignments or projects, like you'll have project one or project A and B, however they want to break it down. But here's the reality, it's not just about the time doing the work. Okay. It's the time that it takes to switch your brain from like work mode to school mode. And then if you're doing this, so let's say you decide you want to do this over your break for lunch, because that's the time that you have, is switching your brain back from student mode back to work mode. After For some people, they're going to do this at the end of the day, or you're like, in some cases, I do it while I'm on a train going to work. It depends on how it works for you. But the thing that people don't talk about is the switching and how you have to switch back and forth between work mode and student mode. You don't just stay in student mode at work. So that right there is like the real hidden cost, in my opinion. And I heard nobody else really talking about this because the brain is already cooked. So let's say you decided to do this from work. You are already chopped when you get off from work, especially if you spent 8, 10, 12, sometimes 14 for all of those truckers out there. I do have some followers that are truckers. Mad respects to you guys, but understanding like you're doing long work days and then you're already chopped when you get off of work. And to have to go through and think about an assignment, it will feel much heavier. You will definitely have to switch. And I'm just telling you as somebody who had to learn this rhythm. So let's talk about the discussion post and assignments and how I kind of blended that rhythm. Okay, so a lot of people think discussion posts are easy posts, and I'm here to tell you that they're not. A large part of that is because The initial post requires for you to actually understand the material enough to say something intelligent. Let me explain why. There are going to be classes that you're going to go to that are going to be more, let's say you are able to follow the format. So it tells you this is what your discussion post must be about. Then you're going to also have classes where the instructor could not make changes in the discussion post, but they want you to use something and they put it in their announcement. Okay. And then I have had classes where I didn't look at the announcement. I just went and followed what was in the class and then got an F on it. And then the instructor's like, hey, I gave you an update inside of please go read my announcement where I gave you what you needed to do. So you will have those two types of classes and you have to pay attention based off of your instructor. That happens all the time. So be careful there. Then once you get done with that, your replies, you have to reply to two of your students. And they have to be actual replies, not I agree with what you said. You can't really phone these in. So you're not going to be able to do that. If you care about your work, you're going to do it. You're going to get it done. So now coming back to like having multiple classes. I did not choose to do multiple classes. So if this is you, okay, let me talk to the people who might be deciding if you can afford to go to SNHU. I will tell you how I have afforded to go to SNHU by doing one thing. Consistently, I send $106 every single week. And I have for 4 years. After I did the initial payment of like 800 and some dollars to go to school, okay, that's what it required. 800 and I think it was like $886 or something to go to school. I have sent them $106. I don't care. It has gone every single week, every Sunday that gets sent out from my bank and it gets sent to the school. So that is how I have been successful in doing this. So the reason why I tell you that is that I chose to do one class at a time. That's why it took me so long to finish. Could I have done 2 or 3 classes? Yes, I could have. I've done that in the past at other schools, and that did not work. So for me, going through and actually doing what was necessary to do one class at a time, even though slower, I'm still achieving the goal. So if you decide to take multiple classes, just understand the time commitment for that. So if you're doing work full time, we're just going to say 40 hours, plus going to school, okay, so you've got discussion posts and projects, you still have actual assignments that are due every Sunday. So it is not an either or. So you're not doing either the discussion posts or the projects, you're doing both. So they all stack together. So I am not telling you to just take one class. I'm telling you to manage what you need based off of your current life. If you feel like you can take 2 classes and then you've got basically 6 responses that you need to do every single week, plus 2 classes that have projects, that is totally up to you. But for me, I wasn't having it. I want to talk about the part that people underestimate the most, and that's the reading. I think a lot of people do not talk about this because they feel like they can just skim over the content. Some weeks the reading is light, okay? And some weeks it is not. Some weeks you have to spend quite a bit of time actually like trudging through the resource documents. So here's the truth. You don't always need to read every single word, but you do need to understand enough about it. So in order to do that, when you write a discussion post, remember I said before, you have to at least have some understanding of it. So in order to do that, you've got to have read through something to know that it's okay for you to go ahead and write a discussion post, to sound intelligent in that discussion post. Now, responding to other people, you've got to be able to take what they say and then look at the rubric of how you're going to be graded. In my opinion, you start to learn how to read strategically. Let's just say that you learn over time and enough classes what you need to read and then how much of what you need to read. Because they'll just say, hey, you got chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 10. And it's like, well, do I need to know all of this? And if you look at what questions will you be quizzed on, you can go back to look, okay, what information do I really need to read? So you learn to scan, you learn to pull key ideas, you learn the to do like connecting concepts. So if you've never done connecting concepts, you will totally learn that when you start going through school. But these are the same things you do in real work. You know, if you work in an office like I do, then you're doing a lot of that. You're having to scan things, you're having to switch constantly from one thing to another. So that's something you're going to do. If you try to read every single word that they give you, chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 9, chapter 10, you're going to burn out and you will not be successful. You will need to learn strategically, what do I need to read in order to answer the question? I am going to say this to you, and I want everybody to come to the front of the room because this is one thing that people really don't pay attention to. Understand that 8 weeks of you going through a class is not intended for you to memorize everything. It is intended for you to think, get your feet wet before you get ready to swim. Okay, swimming is the real life. Going to school is there to get your feet wet. It is to say and expose you to the thing. And the reason why I say that is because when I first started, I was trying my best to understand every concept. That didn't work and it burned me out. Don't do that. Just learn from my mistake and what I'm sharing for you, even if this is the only thing you take away from this whole video podcast is just that. Learn that the whole point of you being here is to get exposed to something. So get exposed to it. Let the 8 weeks go and then it's going to switch. So just understand that even if you're taking 2 classes, you're going to switch every 8 weeks. So, you're not stuck in something forever. So, my real challenge, and maybe this will be your real challenge, is balancing all of this in a full time job. This is the part where people either figure it out or they fall apart because your job is already taking the best hours of your day. They're already taking that first 8 hours. They're taking your focus, your energy, your attention. So by the time school comes around, you're operating at less than 100%. And that means that for the most part, you're going to be given what little bit of energy that you have left to school. So you cannot rely on motivation. And if you are a person who is just thinking you're going to do this because you're motivated to go to school, you may make it through your freshman year, but you got to think, you got to make it through 4 years of this. So is that sustainable for you to just go off of motivation? It's not. You need a system. And that's the only way that this is going to work. So for me, what works is structure. I don't wait until I feel like doing schoolwork. I assign it to days. As I told you, Wednesday is my day to do discussion posts. If I don't have a discussion post for that day, great. Good. Then I don't have a discussion post. If all I have is projects on the weekend, I know that I can split those projects up between Saturday and Sunday. You will know that too. That is now maybe a system you can adopt. It worked for me. I am 3 classes from graduation. It can work for you. I just assign the days, just like you do everything else. The specific days are assigned for certain stuff. Wednesday is discussion posts for me. Weekends are the assignments, period. It becomes your rhythm. And because if you leave it open ended to, oh, I can do my discussion post this week on a Tuesday, and then I can do my project this week on a Friday, maybe those are the days that you can get it done. But I'm saying your system, drop dead dates, are Wednesday for your discussion post, and the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, are the days that you work on your assignments. So school will take over your entire week if you do not allow a system to keep that under control. This is something that I've learned through numerous classes and numerous hours of going through this. Every week is not going to be perfect. Every week's going to be different. Some weeks you're going to be super sharp and you're going to be ready. It's going to be a very interesting class. Other weeks you're going to be tired. You are going to be distracted. Something is going to happen. Someone is going to die. You are going to get sick. Your kids are going to get sick. Your spouse is going to get sick. You're just going to be getting through. You need to learn how to show up even when that time happens. And I'm not being harsh. I'm just telling you something I had to learn. It is okay that life is not perfect, because success in this environment is not built on perfection. It is about being consistent. And if you've heard nothing else that I've said in here, being consistent will get you through this. And that's not being cliche. That is just simply saying, hey, if you're consistent, you will make it through this. So if you are thinking about SNHU and you have already in your mind trying to figure out why it feels heavier than expected. So you start your freshman year and you're like, why does it feel heavy? Here's the truth. It is doable, but it requires discipline. You knew that when you signed up. It requires planning. You also knew that when you signed up. And most importantly, it requires you to respect your time. That you did not know, is that you were going to have to respect your own time, because online school gives you the flexibility, but it does not remove the work. Okay. If you build the system I just suggested to you around everything, just setting it up Wednesday and the weekend, you can win. All right. So that's my weekly breakdown, how I do things. If you're in SNHU right now, drop a comment down below and tell us, what your week is like. Let's talk about it inside the comment section. If you're thinking about enrolling, and now you know what you're walking into and you can kind of make a decision, hopefully. If there's questions that you have, you can leave those down inside of the chat, the comment section. We will be happy to address those. For anybody who has questions for me specifically, leave those in the comments. Join this community. We're so glad that you guys are coming out and starting to respond to this content as I'm making it, and I'll catch you in the next one.